everyone, Ms. Desario. Yes, for those of you who are wondering, I did record most of these in the same day, hence the same shirt and necklace. So I promise I don't wear the same shirt and necklace every single day. But today we are getting ready to do lesson 1.8 video notes on the Great Awakening. The objective for today is that students will be able to describe how the Great Awakening led people to question those in power. And this is going to be important because we're, again, setting that stage for the Declaration of Independence. So the Great Awakening was part of a religious revival. And I want you to take in a minute and look at the picture that we have here to the left. This is a picture of George Whitefield. He was British, but he was an evangelist who would come to the colonies to preach. And I want you to notice how people are seeming to react to him speaking. If we notice, one, he's speaking outside. So we can guess the reason why he had to speak outside and not in a church was because he probably drew large crowds. Two, take a look at this woman up here in the front reaching out towards him. Everyone seems very engaged, leaning in forward towards what he's saying. I'm not exactly sure what's happening with this woman and child right here. People were known to faint or be so overcome from emotion that they would collapse during his sermons. You even have people here in the trees behind him listening to him speak. So it was a very emotional experience. During the Great Awakening, one of the characteristics was that religion started to challenge the Protestant church. And people began to break off and make their own religions. And they began to focus more on, the new focus was on an emotional and personal religious experience. And one thing that people like George Whitefield and others would preach was that, and this again is so important because it's going to set the stage for independence, is that all people were equal before God. So we started to see also African Americans joining in this idea of the Great Awakening, or Africans that had been brought from Africa to the New World against their will, and they were now treated unequally. They had a connection with this new thought process and this new religious movement. Green. So what impact did the Great Awakening have on the colonies? The Great Awakening had first this idea to challenge authority and think for yourselves. We're going to talk about that again when we talk about the Enlightenment. Because of this challenge of authority, you started to see both churches and educational institutions break away from the old because they were not satisfied. And so a set of universities were established this time period, including Princeton, which is what you see here over to the left. Princeton in 1764. This was one of the main campus. You can see there was only 2 buildings at the time. In addition to Princeton, we also saw Rutgers, Brown, and Dartmouth. So the importance, to sum this up, of the Great Awakening was this breakaway from the old Protestant values to this idea that everyone was equal in the eyes of God, and to start to challenge the authority of others and think for yourself, which is going to start implanting these ideas into the colonists, which will start giving them revolutionary ideas as we move closer to the revolution.